The sun had just begun to rise over the Navy base. The air was crisp, and the sound of boots hitting the concrete echoed across the training grounds. Soldiers moved in perfect formation, their faces serious, their eyes focused. Among them walked a woman who seemed calm, yet every step she took carried a quiet strength. She was not like the others. Her uniform was sharp, her posture perfect, and her eyes carried a confidence that was impossible to ignore. Today was just another morning at the base, but for some, it was about to become unforgettable. A Navy SEAL, known for his jokes and playful teasing, spotted her. He had a reputation for testing new personnel, sometimes making fun of them to see how they reacted. Today, he chose her. With a smirk, he walked up, trying to look casual. "Hey," he said, a hint of amusement in his voice. "What's your rank?" His tone was teasing, meant to get a laugh from the nearby soldiers. The woman stopped and looked at him. Her gaze was calm, steady, and just a little curious. She didn't raise her voice, didn't frown, and didn't seem bothered. She simply smiled, a small, polite smile. "Lieutenant," she said softly. The SEAL laughed, thinking he had made a joke. He leaned back slightly and nudged another soldier nearby, whispering, "See? She's just like us." But he couldn't see what everyone else could, unbeknownst to him. 4 high-ranking generals were walking just a few steps behind. They had been watching her from a distance. Every movement she made, every gesture, spoke of years of experience and hard-earned respect. The SEAL didn't notice them, and he didn't notice the subtle nods, the almost invisible signs of acknowledgement from the generals. The woman adjusted her uniform slightly and continued walking. She was heading toward the training hall, her pace steady, her mind focused. She had a schedule to keep, missions to plan, and responsibilities that mattered more than a joke from a playful SEAL. The SEAL, however, decided to try again. He stepped in front of her, pretending to block her path. "So really," he said, smirking, "what's your story?" "Just another officer, or something special." He expected her to respond with nervous laughter or maybe a small reaction to make his joke successful, but she didn't react the way he expected. Instead, she looked straight at him, her eyes clear and confident. "I have a story," she said quietly. "One you might not be ready to hear." Her voice was calm, but it carried weight. The SEAL felt a small chill, realizing this wasn't going to be like the other times he teased someone. Suddenly, the generals took a step forward, and one by one, they saluted her. The sound of metal striking metal echoed sharply. The SEAL froze. His smirk vanished. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Around him, soldiers began to notice the scene. Whispers spread. The woman nodded politely, returned the salute with grace, and continued walking. The SEAL's joke had completely backfired. What he thought would be a funny moment had turned into something he could not ignore. The woman walked with the same calm confidence, leaving him stunned, embarrassed, and more curious than ever. As she disappeared into the training hall, the SEAL realized one thing. This woman was not just another officer. She was someone extraordinary. And he had no idea how much. The woman's footsteps echoed softly as she moved through the hallways of the Navy base. Each step seemed purposeful, measured, as if the floor itself recognized the power she carried. Behind her, the SEAL stood frozen, trying to comprehend what had just happened. 4 generals had saluted her, a gesture reserved for the highest respect in the military. And yet, she had taken it in stride, as if it were a simple, everyday occurrence. The whispers among the soldiers began to spread. "Did you see that?" one said, eyes wide. 4 generals saluting her? Another shook his head. "I've never seen anything like that before. Who is she?" But she paid no attention. Her focus was on the tasks ahead, the missions she had planned, the responsibility she bore. She had learned long ago that respect was earned quietly, not demanded loudly. The generals watched her as well, each one impressed by her calm demeanor, by the way she carried herself without arrogance or pride. They had all known of her accomplishments, but seeing her in person, commanding respect silently, left a stronger impression than any report or medal ever could. The SEAL, meanwhile, was struggling. His mind raced. He had teased dozens of officers before, some confident, some nervous. None had responded like her. And certainly, none had earned the immediate, unquestioned respect of 4 generals. He felt a mix of embarrassment and fascination. Who was this woman? And how could someone inspire such immediate respect without saying a single word? As she walked down the hall, a younger soldier approached her nervously. "Ma'am," he whispered, bowing his head slightly, I want to say your work on the last mission was incredible." She smiled kindly but briefly, acknowledging his words. "Thank you," she said simply. She didn't linger for praise. There was always more to do. The SEAL watched the interaction and felt a pang of realization. Respect was not about jokes or smirks or trying to impress others. It was earned through actions, through skill, through dedication that others could not ignore. He had been trying to play a game, but she had already mastered it years ago. Meanwhile, the generals continued to observe. Each had their own reasons for the respect they gave her. One recalled a dangerous mission in which she had led her team flawlessly against impossible odds. Another remembered her mentorship of younger officers, guiding them quietly, without taking credit. A third thought of her discipline, her unwavering focus, and the calm that seemed to surround her even in chaos. The fourth had watched her career silently, amazed at how someone could rise through the ranks without making a scene, without demanding attention, yet commanding admiration everywhere. The SEAL tried to speak again, nervously. "So, you really are just an officer?" His voice was small, unsure. She looked at him briefly, a tiny smile playing on her lips, and said, "I am more than what you see. But what matters is what I do, not what you think." That statement hit him harder than any blow. He understood finally that humor, teasing, or bravado were meaningless in front of true skill and dedication. And she had both in abundance. As the woman walked toward the training grounds, soldiers stepped aside instinctively. They didn't need orders. Her presence alone commanded it. Even the SEAL found himself moving out of her path, almost without thinking. She had not raised her voice. She had not demanded attention. And yet, respect followed her, silent but absolute. The SEAL realized this moment would stay with him forever. And deep inside, he knew the lesson had only just begun. Little did he know, this encounter was just the first of many moments that would teach him the true meaning of respect, discipline, and leadership. And the generals watching from behind had more surprises in store for everyone present. Moments that would cement her legacy on the base in ways no one could predict. The Navy SEAL couldn't shake the image of her walking past the generals with calm authority. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her straight posture, her quiet confidence, and the flawless way she commanded respect without saying a word. He told himself it was just luck, just coincidence, but deep down, he knew it. Later, that morning, in the training yard, he found himself standing near her again. The sun glared off the metal railings, and the smell of gunpowder lingered faintly in the air. Nearby soldiers were drilling, but he couldn't focus on them. His mind was fixed on one thing. "Her right, Lieutenant," he said, trying to sound casual but failing. "I still don't get it. You're different. What's your story?" His tone was teasing, like before, but this time there was an edge of nervous curiosity. She looked at him directly, and for a moment, he felt like she could see every thought in his mind. "My story?" she asked quietly. "It's not for jokes." Her eyes were calm, yet her voice carried a warning. Before he could respond, the sound of footsteps cut through the air. 4 sets of polished boots marched toward them. The generals had returned to the yard, observing from a distance. The SEAL didn't notice until the nearest general stopped in front of him and sharply saluted her. Then another and another, until all four were standing tall, eyes fixed, respect clear in every movement. The SEAL froze. His mouth opened, but no words came out. He had seen respect before, yes, but he had never seen it like this, silent, unanimous, and absolute. His joke, meant to tease, had collided with reality in a way he couldn't escape. The woman returned each salute with flawless precision. Her hand moved smoothly, confidently, without hesitation. Soldiers nearby whispered, their eyes wide with awe. The SEAL swallowed hard, realizing for the first time just how much he had underestimated her. One of the generals stepped closer, his voice low but firm. "Lieutenant, your presence here sets the standard for everyone. We watch, we learn, we follow. That is why we salute." The SEAL's mind reeled. He had expected arrogance or self-importance, maybe even a defensive reaction, but she remained calm, humble, and utterly commanding at the same time. "You see," she said softly, her voice cutting through the quiet, "respect is earned, not given. And it is earned by action, not by words." The SEAL nodded slowly, feeling a mix of awe and guilt. He had walked in thinking this would be a joke, a small moment of fun. Instead, he had walked into a lesson in humility, skill, and true leadership. Around them, soldiers watched the scene unfold. Some whispered to each other, others stared silently. The generals lingered, approving the subtle power she displayed. Even the SEAL realized that this was more than just an ordinary encounter. It was history in motion. A moment that would be talked about for months in the base's halls. Finally, she lowered her hand from the last salute and turned toward the training hall. Every step she took radiated confidence, leaving behind a trail of silent admiration. The SEAL followed at a distance, still stunned, still trying to understand how one person could command such absolute respect without raising her voice or demanding attention. That day, the SEAL learned a truth that would stay with him forever. A true leader does not need to assert power. Her actions and character do it for her. And for him, what had started as a joke became a moment of deep reflection. A turning point that would change the way he saw leadership, respect, and his own place in the military. As she disappeared from view, the SEAL whispered to himself, almost in awe, "She's unstoppable." And indeed, she was just beginning to show everyone what that truly meant. As the woman walked through the training hall, her mind drifted back. Not long ago, this same hall had been filled with whispers, doubts, and challenges, especially for her. She remembered her first day at the base, stepping into a world dominated by men, many of whom doubted her abilities before she even spoke. She had been a black woman in a place where respect was earned slowly, and she knew she had to prove herself every single day. Her journey had not been easy. Long hours of grueling training had pushed her body to its limits. Early mornings had become a ritual, nights spent studying tactics, strategies, and every detail of naval operations. She remembered running drills under the scorching sun, her muscles burning, yet never giving up. Every step, every push-up, every drill had been a test of endurance, willpower, and determination. Then came her first mission. The stakes were higher than she had ever faced. She led her team through dangerous waters, navigating storms and enemy threats with precision. One wrong move could cost lives. Yet she remained calm, focused, and decisive. Her team followed her without question because they trusted her judgment, even when fear gripped their hearts. That mission earned her recognition, but more importantly, it earned her confidence in herself. She also faced prejudice and whispers from those who underestimated her. Some doubted her because of her gender, others because of her race. But she learned to ignore the doubts and focus on her own abilities. Every challenge became an opportunity to prove herself, not to them, but to herself. Slowly, silently, she built a reputation not just for competence, But for unwavering courage, medals and commendations came later, almost as a side effect of her hard work. She did not seek them, nor did she flaunt them. What mattered to her was the mission, the people she led, and the lives she protected. Those who had once doubted her began to recognize her talent, but even they could not fully grasp the depth of her skill and dedication. Her flashback shifted to one critical mission that changed everything. She had been sent to a hostile zone with minimal support. Enemy forces were strong, the terrain difficult, and the time short. Every decision mattered. She had coordinated her team flawlessly, saved lives, and completed the mission without a single mistake. When she returned, the generals themselves praised her in private, acknowledging her brilliance. But she remained humble, insisting it was a team effort. That humility, combined with unmatched skill, earned her quiet admiration from the highest ranks. She learned that leadership was not about showing off, but about inspiring others silently, guiding them, and earning their trust without demanding it. And over time, her reputation grew. Soldiers began to notice her instinctively, giving her respect not because they were told to, but because she had earned it in every action she took. The flashback ended as she stood in the present, the memory of her journey fueling her confidence. The SEAL, still nearby, could not have imagined the depth of her experience. He had seen the salutes, the quiet power she carried, but he did not yet know the countless battles, the endless training, and the courage that had built the woman in front of him. Her past had shaped her into someone extraordinary, a leader who commanded respect not by words, but by presence, action, and unshakable character. And this was only the beginning of the story the SEAL and everyone at the base were about to witness. The SEAL stood silently at the edge of the training yard, watching her move. Every step she took carried authority, every gesture spoke of experience, and every glance seemed to command attention without a word. The scene from earlier, the salutes from 4 generals, replayed in his mind over and over. Like a lesson he could not ignore, he had always thought respect was earned through strength, loud words, or showing off skills. He had joked, teased, and tested people to see if they were worthy of acknowledgement. But standing here now, he realized he had been wrong. True respect was quieter, deeper, and far more powerful than he had ever imagined. He remembered the way she had answered him the first time he asked her rank. Calm, polite, but filled with confidence. He remembered the subtle way she had carried herself past the generals, never flinching, never showing arrogance. And now, after hearing whispers of her past missions and seeing her in action, he understood that her strength was not only in skill, it was in character, determination, and leadership. For the first time, he truly studied her. He noticed the precision in her movements, the way she scanned the yard without missing a detail, the way soldiers instinctively gave her space and respect. Even small actions, the way she adjusted her uniform or nodded to a junior officer, were filled with authority and grace. He had always thought respect could be demanded, but she had earned it effortlessly, silently, and completely. He replayed in his mind the flashback he had overheard, some soldiers talking about her first dangerous mission, leading her team through impossible odds, saving lives, making decisions that could have meant life or death. He realized that each act had contributed to her reputation. Each challenge she faced had been met with courage and skill. Respect, he now saw, was the natural consequence of excellence, humility, and relentless perseverance. The SEAL swallowed hard. He felt a mix of admiration, guilt, and awe. He had underestimated her. He had thought his joke would be harmless, that he could test her like anyone else, but she had passed the test in a way he could never have imagined. And more than that, she had passed every test in life silently, through countless challenges that he could only begin to imagine. He knew he had much to learn. His pride, his teasing, his arrogance, they felt small and insignificant compared to the quiet power she wielded with ease. He realized that leadership was not about jokes or bravado. It was about responsibility, integrity, and the ability to inspire others without demanding it. Gathering courage, he approached her, his head slightly bowed in acknowledgement. "Ma'am," he said quietly, I didn't understand before. I see it now. I see what true leadership looks like." She turned to him, her eyes calm, yet piercing. A small smile touched her lips. "It's never too late to learn," she said softly. "Respect is not something you take, it's something you earn, and something you give to those who deserve it." The SEAL nodded, taking in every word. Around them, soldiers continued their drills, unaware of the silent lesson unfolding. The generals watched from a distance, satisfied that their chosen officer had once again demonstrated her power, not through words, but through presence and action. The SEAL realized that this moment would change him forever. He had come to tease, to test, to assert himself, but instead, he had learned humility, admiration, and the meaning of true respect. From now on, he knew, his actions would speak louder than his words. His dedication would earn the acknowledgement he once sought to take for granted. And as he stood there, watching her walk away with the same calm confidence, he whispered to himself, almost in awe, "I need to be better, if I ever hope to follow her." The SEAL followed her across the training yard, keeping a careful distance. Each step she took seemed deliberate, like she was moving through a space designed for greatness. Soldiers instinctively parted ways, and even the wind seemed to bow to her presence. He had watched her command respect before, but now he wanted to understand it, to learn it, to carry even a fraction of it himself. He finally gathered the courage to speak. "Ma'am, can you teach me?" His voice was hesitant, tinged with humility he had never known before. He expected a dismissive reply, perhaps a short answer, but her response surprised him. She stopped and turned, fixing him with a steady gaze. "I can guide you," she said softly, "but you must be ready to learn, not just listen. True respect, true leadership cannot be given, it is earned, in every choice, every action, every word." The SEAL nodded, swallowing his pride. He had never considered that respect was about consistency, discipline, and integrity, not loudness or bravado. She led him to a quiet corner of the training yard, away from the drills and noise, and began to explain not with lectures, but through stories, examples, and lessons drawn from experience. She spoke of missions where quick thinking and calm judgment saved lives. She explained how leadership was about seeing more than what was in front of you, anticipating challenges, protecting your team, and making decisions that others might never understand. Each story carried a lesson, but it was delivered quietly, almost casually, like it was second nature to her. The SEAL listened intently, absorbing every word, realizing how far he had fallen short of her standards. Then she turned the focus to him. "What matters," she said, "is not what you say, but what you do. People will judge you by your actions, by your courage, by your consistency. Words without action are empty. Jokes without understanding can be dangerous." Her gaze softened slightly, showing neither anger nor arrogance, just clarity and expectation. The SEAL nodded again, a deep feeling of understanding settling in him. He felt his mindset shift. Pride and ego were replaced with admiration and a desire to improve. He realized that he had been trying to command respect through humor and bravado, but she had shown him that true respect could only come from skill, courage, and integrity. For the next hour, she led him through practical exercises, not drills, but real-life simulations of decisions under pressure. She challenged him to think, to act quickly, to take responsibility for outcomes. At first he struggled, faltered, and made mistakes. But she guided him patiently, correcting, explaining, and encouraging. Every time he succeeded, no matter how small, he felt a spark of understanding. By the end of the session, the SEAL was exhausted, mentally and physically, but transformed. He looked at her with genuine respect, no longer as someone to tease, but as a leader, a mentor, and a model to follow. Around them, soldiers had begun to notice the exchange, inspired silently by the humility and determination displayed by both. Finally, she spoke again, her voice calm and firm. "Remember this, respect is not a prize you win once. It is earned every day, in every choice. Lead with courage, act with integrity, and never forget the people you serve. Then respect will follow you naturally." The SEAL took a deep breath, letting her words sink in. He had come to test her, to joke at her expense. Instead, he had learned one of the most important lessons of his life. And as she walked away, back into the flow of soldiers and drills, he whispered to himself, "I will never forget this. And I will never lead the same way again." In that moment, he understood something powerful. True leaders inspire without demanding. And respect given freely to those who earn it is stronger than any joke or title ever could be. The sun was beginning to set over the Navy base, casting long shadows across the training grounds. Soldiers were finishing their drills, packing up their gear, and preparing to leave for the day. But one figure moved with calm authority, unaffected by the fading light. The woman walked through the base, her steps deliberate, her presence commanding silent respect from everyone she passed. The SEAL followed behind, a changed man. He had learned humility, courage, and the true meaning of leadership from her. Each step he took now carried a sense of purpose, an understanding that actions mattered more than words, and that respect was earned, not demanded. He noticed how soldiers instinctively stepped aside for her, how junior officers glanced at her for guidance, and how even the generals, watching from a distance, held a quiet pride in her achievements. Her influence was more than just skill, it was legacy. Every soldier she had trained, every mission she had led, every life she had protected, contributed to an unspoken impact that reached far beyond the walls of the base. She was a symbol of quiet strength, determination, and unwavering integrity. And the SEAL realized that her story was now part of the very fabric of the base. As they approached the officers' quarters, a young recruit ran up nervously, saluting. "Ma'am, sir," he said, addressing both of them. "I just wanted to say, your leadership, it inspires me." She smiled briefly, her calm eyes meeting his. "Thank you," she said. "But remember, it's not about me. It's about the team, about the choices you make every day." The SEAL watched this exchange quietly. He remembered how he had tried to tease her just days ago, not understanding the weight of her experience. Now he saw that every interaction she had, every lesson she taught, was part of a larger mission, shaping future leaders, building trust and inspiring courage in others. Later, the generals convened near the training hall, discussing an upcoming mission that required precision, trust, and leadership beyond measure. They spoke of her quietly, acknowledging her role not just as an officer, but as the foundation for the base's strength. The SEAL overheard snippets of their conversation and realized she had earned not just respect, but influence at the highest levels. That evening, as the base quieted down, the woman stood on a small balcony overlooking the training grounds. Soldiers walking below instinctively saluted, generals nodded in acknowledgement, and even the SEAL, now at her side, gave a respectful nod. It was not about power or titles or recognition, it was about impact. Every action she took, every decision she made, left a mark that would continue to guide the base long after she was gone. The SEAL finally spoke, his voice low but filled with genuine respect. "I understand now," he said. "Leadership isn't about proving yourself. It's about helping others become their best." She looked at him, a subtle smile forming. "Exactly. And the impact you leave behind, that is your true legacy." As night fell, the base glimmered with lights, and a sense of calm purpose settled over the grounds. Soldiers moved with confidence, knowing they were guided by someone extraordinary. The SEAL had changed, inspired to be a better leader. And the woman, silent, steady, and unmatched, continued her work, shaping the present while leaving a legacy that would inspire generations to come. Finally, as she turned to walk into the officers' quarters, a whisper ran through the base. "She's unstoppable." And indeed, she was. Every salute, every lesson, every life she touched was proof of her extraordinary journey, a journey that had begun quietly, faced challenges bravely, and now stood as a symbol of respect, courage, and true leadership. Even in the quiet of the night, her story was far from over. New missions awaited, new challenges to conquer, and new soldiers to inspire. And everyone at the base, especially the SEAL, knew that they had witnessed the beginning of a legacy that would never be forgotten.